Okay, so my name is Mike Sabella. I'm a family physician from Northeastern Ohio, and I'm a social media enthusiast and very excited about it, as you can tell. So the first question I usually get, especially from docs, is why care about the internet? Why care about it? Then the first question I have for them is, have you ever Googled your name? Okay? Now, especially if you're a physician and you haven't done social media at all, do people know what usually the first link is at the very top? Okay. So this is what I did for me, okay? So you can see it's all the way down to number 3, okay? So for docs, I tell people, you're already out there, okay? So there are ways that you can help enhance your Googleage out there, okay? And not have your first one be an online rating site. It's very important, especially for docs, especially for medical students too, and residents. You know, because I talk to people outside of the medical industry. Okay, I talk to people outside the medical industry that hire and fire people. Okay, the two things that they do before they even look at your application is they Google you and they Facebook you. Okay. And I have talked to people who said, I did not hire that person or I fired that person because of what they found on the internet. So it's very important for people to know that whatever you do out there, it's going to be on a search engine somewhere. So this is me, okay? So this is my social media story, okay? It was back in 2005. I was going to have my tonsils out as an adult, which if you've ever had it out as an adult, you know how much painful it is when you're a kid. When you're a kid, the day after you're bouncing off the walls. If you're an adult, you have them out, you're out for a week. So I had nothing to do for a week. So I was interested about computers, I was interested about the internet. I started reading blogs, listening to podcasts. And I ran into a blog from a family physician, anonymous, did not know, I found out who she was after that. She had a stroke in her 30s. She wrote about it. Very raw writing, very real, that interested me. I read it for about 6 months and I said, do I have a story to tell? Would anybody read it? Would anybody be interested in it? So in June 2006, I started the Dr. Anonymous blog. Why anonymous? That's probably the most common question I get. Because I thought I could be. I wrote about patients, and I got a big following. I stopped writing about patients, and we can talk about that in the Q&A afterward if you want to do that. That's a little bit of a story there. But I did the written blog for about a year, and then I started doing audio podcasts because of my ADD. I like experimenting in different types of media. I saw a lot of people doing that type of thing, so I did some podcasts. I have a live podcast every week where I interview docs doing social media. I really believe that physicians need to get their story out there. I really, really believe that family physicians really need to get their story out there as far as who we are, what we do. We can get that into that a little bit as well. But you can see here, you know, I do audio, I do video. Kind of my little joke is that I'm the least anonymous doctor on the internet now because I'm all over that. But I've kind of built up a brand, and people have said, well, why don't you just change everything over to MikeSabella.com? And I'm like, well, you know, because people, you know, I go to conferences all the time. I was in Seattle 2 weeks ago. I was in Philadelphia last week talking about social media at a pharma event. We could talk about that. And they said, well, you're not anonymous anymore. Well, what's my name? I want to know what your name is. They know me as this, so that's why I kind of... It's your brand. So I do LinkedIn as well. And then I do have a Facebook page for the show. And I do blog posts. I put some video on there in case people want to... People know who this is? So, we talked about this before, and so this is Kevin. That was Kevin MD. Okay, he's the leading voice of physicians in social media. If you are anywhere in social media, you have to know Kevin MD. KevinMD.com, and he has very, very great stuff as far as content. He talks about a lot about health policy. He talks about clinical topics as well. So if you have a first place to stop, if you haven't done any of this before, him and Gita. This is somebody I met a couple weeks ago in Seattle. Okay, this is the fastest rising star in physician social media right now. Her name is Wendy Sue Swanson. She's a pediatrician at Seattle Children's. Okay, why is she so popular? Because she has a blog. She gets paid by her hospital to do social media. She has broken the mold. I told her, I want your contract wherever I go. Okay? So she does part-time clinical, and then she does part-time this. Okay? And she does. This was kind of one of her more popular posts and video. A little bit of a rant on the flavorizing of formula. And there was a lot of comments on this. Okay. And I met her a couple weeks ago when I was presenting on a panel out there about social media, and whoa, sorry about that.
That's her calling.
Hey, I talked about you. I mentioned it. And she gave a presentation about why she thinks social media is important, and it's on my blog too if you want to take a look at that. And one of the segments of her talk was about vaccines and autism, as a pediatrician. Okay. And she talks about Jenny McCarthy and those are people who are against vaccines. And she says, I have nothing against her. She has a story to tell. She has a belief that this immunization caused this condition. That's fine. Physicians, pediatricians, family physicians have a story to tell too, and we should do that. That's her point. So I encourage you to check that out. She's also on Twitter as well, Seattle Mama Doc. It's a pretty catchy name on Twitter, so definitely check out her stuff. And for the med students have a podcast, Radio Rounds, radiorounds.org. People heard of it? Ever heard of it? This person right here, she, at the end of her first year of medical school, found a lump in her breast during finals week. Breast cancer. She talked about it on the show. Very moving story. So even medical students are getting out there, telling their story, what's it like. This is a very entertaining show. You say, hey, what's it like to be a first year? I'm going through this test. What's it like to be a second year? What's it to be a third year? What's it to be a fourth year? So it's getting out there. So everybody's getting out there. Family physicians need to do the same thing. This is Carrie Sparling, 6untilmeat.com. She's a diabetes blogger. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 6. That's what the name of the blog. This was today's blog. Very interesting. She's finding a new primary care physician. And she says here, for those of you that can't read this, I'm here to see if I'd like Dr. No Way to be my primary care physician. I'm here to see if I like her and this office, she says. From the moment I walked into this doctor's office, I was uncomfortable. People in the waiting room looked exhausted. They had been there since birth and slowly aged and felt close to their seats. Wouldn't it be nice if there were some family docs reading this? You can leave a comment, hey, say Carrie. You know, they're not all like that. So she's getting her message out there. Very popular blog, very huge following in the diabetes community. There are a lot of patients out there who are blogging, who are creating communities around their disease and diagnosis. A lot of docs don't know that. Now, what about family docs? Family docs out there? Sure, there's some family docs out there. People know Doug Farraga? He's from Maine. People probably may be familiar with Placebo Journal. It's kind of his little magazine for medicine. He is working with someone in Hollywood to tell the story of family physicians. Back in the dark ages when I was in medical school, everybody was like, oh, ER, you know, family docs need to run TV show. You know, whatever AFP meeting you go, we have to have the family medicine TV show.
It's called not an explosion.
We still hear that.
Yeah, you still hear it, okay? But he's doing something about that, okay? I would encourage you to check out his YouTube, his YouTube there. It's also on my site too. So in this episode, he is going through some of the families in Maine where he's at, local. This episode he does a site visit, or home visit, to analyze and to show people who are outside of medicine how important something like a home visit is. We all know how important it is, but a lot of people out there don't. So he is somebody that is trying to get out there to tell the story of family medicine. And I just met Jen right before this session, okay? And actually Larry pointed me to who you were, and I'll put you on the spot here in a little bit, but she wrote and produced a TV show in Pittsburgh during your MPH.
Yeah, during fellowship.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did that come about, and what happened with that?
Well, Tim Wallace was my partner in crime up there. We were in residency together, and Tim and I both had some theater background. We both had this idea that there's nothing out there about what family medicine is and what we do, and even as residents, seeing patients, you know, feeling like, gosh, we give them all this great stuff, then they go home and, you know, they get exposed to all these other messages. How can we make some positive media messages? So that all percolates for a year or so. I go to fellowship. I decide I want an MPH to understand why patients don't want to follow all my great advice all the time. Learn some health behavior theory, mix that in, like the idea of a sitcom. It's accessible, characters you can relate to, characters that you care about. So, you know, the two family doctors who are featured in, I mean, and this just aired on local public access, so make it more than it was. But, you know, you saw them at home, you saw them interacting at other places other than just in the office. And we tried to show the full breadth of family medicine so that people watching would see family docs go on home visits, family docs work in the office, family docs work in the intensive care unit, family docs deliver babies.
Family docs dealing with the vaccine and autism question.
Yep.
Family docs dealing with the, oh, by the way, by the time you get to the door. It's very interesting how they deal with that. I mean, it's very funny, it's very entertaining, it's very insightful.
So, multiple episodes?
We made a total of 4 episodes. This was a 2-person show, mostly. You know, we wrote it, we starred in it, we recruited volunteers to act in it, we filmed it, we edited it. So yeah, over about a year, we put together 4 episodes. The 4th episode never aired. It's actually the part of a pilot research study that I'm running right now to see if folks watching it, if their health beliefs are changed.
How long ago was that? How long ago was that?
The episodes aired on public access in Pittsburgh in 2008.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, kind of the beginnings. I mean, this was like social media before it was social media. I mean, and the episodes are up there. I mean, I encourage people to check that out. It's very good writing. A couple other things, and then I'll turn things back over. So this is Brian Verdebegian. He is a pediatric gastroenterologist in Texas Children's Hospital. And we talked about vaccines and autism before, and he gives the example that, I mean, when you search vaccines and autism right now, the front page, all anti-vaccine links, okay? There are 60,000 members of the American Academy of Pediatrics. If each one of those members wrote 1 blog post a year, it would rule as search engines. Okay. AFP has 90,000 members. You know, other people have, you know, a lot of other members. So it's not about trying to, you know, silence the people you don't agree with. It's just bringing our story forward. And I think, as he says in this, are physicians obligated to participate in social media? I think they do. I think we need to do it for ourselves. I think we need to do it for our patients.